Saturn enters Aries, and we are talking about gun control. We're talking about communism, Putin, Russia. America is going to be really affected with this. So if you really want to know what we have in store for this transit in 2025, stay tuned. Hello, it's me, Danyell Carmelita, your favorite tarot reader and astrologer. Welcome. Today we are talking about Saturn entering Aries. If you see me looking down, it's because I have my notes here and I want to give you all the details. First, we're going to talk about Saturn because I want you to understand astrology. If you're new to astrology, we're also going to talk about Aries. Saturn currently is in a sign Pisces. We'll discuss what that looks like and how that affects us currently as I'm filming this. And then we'll discuss the history, because if you are an astrologer, you have to look at how astrology plays historically to see how that can shape the future. And then I'll talk about some predictions. Well, lastly, I'll talk about predictions, and then lastly, we're going to get into the horoscopes. So sip your tea. This is so fitting because this tea, I think, is called like gunpowder, but it's a green tea with stevia. I love it. Anyway, here are the dates with Saturn entering Aries. I always want to say Saturn entering astrology. Sorry. Saturn entering Aries is going to enter Aries first, May 24th, 2025. I want to say, before I talk about the dates, I have a 2025 playlist. Go ahead and check that out. If you want to know all the other transits for 2025, I've already discussed the North and South Node. I've also discussed Neptune entering the sign Aries, so check that out. I've also did a video on Pluto entering Aquarius, how that will affect us in years to come. So I have a video on tarot reading if you just want to know your tarot reading for 2025. And now we are doing Saturn entering Aries. Next video coming up will be Uranus entering Gemini. But hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button so you can stay tuned on everything that's coming up. But now we're talking about Saturn entering Aries. So it's first going to hit Aries May 24th, 2025. And this is going to be a cosmic call to slow down and to set up. Every planet comes into a sign and then a retrograde. So these are the dates for when it will retrograde. It will retrograde September 1st and then come back into Aries February 13th of 2026. And it will stay in the sign Aries all the way until April 12th, 2028. Saturn typically spends about 2.5 to 3 years in each zodiac sign. It completes a whole cycle of the zodiac around 28 to 30 years. That's why you have a Saturn return, which is a whole nother video and I need to do. So if you really want that immediately, put that down in the comment box and I would do that. So now let's talk about Saturn. Saturn is the Roman god of time and agriculture and harvest. And basically that means time and patience. It's associated with life cycles, discipline and order, structure. And it's an older man holding a tool for cutting crops. So that gives him the older wise man, makes him the mentor and the father of time. And I would think that tool is also like cutting crops, limiting and setting boundaries, which is also very important for Saturn. Whenever you have transits and it's involving Saturn, most likely there's some authority figures, mentors, elders, father figures involved. People who lead and govern. Saturn is the manual of our life. It is what we considered reliable. There is practical, ethical responsibility with Saturn. It's mature, achievement, reward, success. It's the role model energy of astrology. It also is very conservative, rigid, and cold. Very serious, and serious sometimes comes off very pessimistic. Also with Saturn transits, you normally get depression, because think about it, cold, rigid, restricting, limited, depression. But it also adds value of moderation and caution. It demands being simple, simplifying situations, defining situations, the reality of situations. There's realism and truth. It is the taskmaster of the zodiac. Saturn also represents tradition. Again, so it slows us down. It's very responsible, reliable, accountable. It is the life lessons of the zodiac sign. It's what we have challenges in. However, the challenges are going to bring the life lesson. It provides structures and boundaries, hard work, maturity, delays, longevity. It's mastery through repetition. It's also the god of karma And that's what happens when you have life lessons. Growth through challenges. Every time I see Saturn, I also think of government, corporations, the infrastructure of anything. It also deals with uniforms, businesses with uniforms like the police. There's fear, insecurity with Saturn, reality check, and death and endings. So I want to talk about the history of Saturn, current history of Saturn. And Saturn in 2018 to 2023, it was in the sign Capricorn and Aquarius. And very dramatic. First of all, Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, so that's double the energy. And everything I said about Saturn, you can think of that as Capricorn, so there was limitations. And what do we have while Saturn was in Capricorn in 2020? We had COVID. So you had lockdowns, you had the pandemic. And when Saturn entered Aquarius, then we had Black Lives Matter, the defunding of police, and the killing of George Floyd. Then we entered Saturn in Pisces. And that is what we have currently. And it makes me think of scrutiny of like, it's all about who is the real victim. And we're currently going through that with the Penny case, if you're familiar with that, the guy who tried to protect the subway with the homeless guy, which is very Pisces energy, and protect everyone. And he went to court. Saturn in Pisces is exposing incompetence, dysfunction, and neglect, which you get a lot of homeless is neglected or whatever is neglected. And that's what that Pisces energy is about. Also, Pisces is about water, right? So you have the Titan, that submarine that went down for the Titan ship and how that was neglected. They just totally disregard the rules for that. Also, there was a migrant ship overcrowded with 750 passengers, and it drowned nearly hundreds of people. There was a wildfire in Hawaii, and that was neglected as well. October 2023, structures, boundaries, borders is what you get with Saturn. Well, when you get with Pisces, it just disintegrates and dissolves. So there was no borders. And in October 2023, alongside an eclipse, but with that, you also had no borders when it came to Hamas breaking the gate and coming into Israel. Also in the past, when we had Saturn in the sign Pisces, we had AA started, Alcoholic Anonymous. Your Miranda rights was created during a Saturn in Pisces. Kurt Cobain committed suicide during a Saturn in Pisces. Nelson Mandela got arrested during apartheid during Saturn in a Pisces, and then became president during a Saturn in Pisces. He became convicted, not arrested. Also, too, you have people who are currently like Kat Von D and Russell Brand who became baptized and became serious about their religion during Saturn in Pisces, because Saturn is very serious energy. And now it's like, you know what? Stop having fun. This is serious. Pay attention. President Netanyahu. I feel like I always say his name wrong. He has Saturn in Virgo in his natal chart. And so that could be squaring and having some issues with this Saturn in Pisces. We'll look into that in the future, but I'm just throwing that out there so you can be aware of what's going on. Now, let's talk about the sign Aries. Now, because I just did a video on Neptune entering Aries, check that out. I deeper into the sign Aries, but we're here and I want to give you something. Aries is ruling the face and the head. Mars is the ruler of Aries. So you're talking about action, conflict, energy, desire. Mars is the god of war. So it's very masculine. It's very yang energy, external energy. Aries is a fire sign too. Things very quick. There's intense burst. It's a sprinter rather than a long distance runner. It likes to start a project but not really finish a project. You have passion, bold, brave, courage, dynamic, energy, inspiration, spark, motivation, creativity, and a temper when you're dealing with Aries energy. Mars, since Mars is the ruler of Aries, you get a lot of things dealing with blood, weapons, sharp objects, and guns. Aries is also in charge of our law enforcement and the military, the Navy forces, the Air Forces, the Army. Aries also enemies. So war, battles, typical masculinity, and competitive sports. Also, too, it's a leader, okay? And it likes to do things that is very innovative and first, because Aries is the first zodiac sign of the astrology. Very direct. You're dealing with birth, something new, and the self, the individual. So what does it look like when Saturn is in the sign Aries? So you have the planet that is very serious and you get lessons and it slows things down with Aries, which is very fast and impulsive. First of all, when Saturn is in a sign Saturn in its fall, meaning that there's challenges with the natural qualities of the planet in this zodiac sign. It doesn't like being home near. Saturn thrives on discipline, structure, patience, and long-term planning. Aries, again ruled by Mars, it's like, why are you so slow? Let's be impulsive. We need action. And I'm impatient and you want to move slow. Saturn struggles because it's very methodical. Aries is like, why are we having a plan? Just go. Don't even think. Saturn's tendencies to enforce rules can make Aries feel a little restricted. Aries is very bold, while Saturn is living in fear and not positive at all. It's very pessimistic. So when you have these two together, you can get something like Saturn challenging impulsivity and asking us to learn a lesson about being fast and quick-tempered and to really take our time and carefully plan and have measured actions. While Saturn is in Aries, we're going to have some challenges. We're going to be impatient, especially with authority, difficulty delaying self-gratification, reckless leadership, struggles with discipline. Saturn with each sign, it wants to bring integrity, reliability in that sign. And to do that, it has to teach us a lesson. So if we're not responsible with guns, Saturn is going to say gun control. Overweight, Saturn's going to be like, you need some self-discipline. Now, remember I said that Aries is about our face. And with Saturn, there may be some restrictions and we might have to show our face, maybe through, have to do that face detection. Something with the face, something with the head is going to be restricted or cause a restriction somehow. Also too, because you're talking about Saturn and having limitations and the sign Aries is about yourself, there could be no access to yourself. And what does that mean? It's like you're limited to being an individual. Maybe individuality is slowed down, it's depressed, it's scrutinized, it's heavily restricted. There needs to be an establishment behind the self and the individual. Maybe it's going to be formalized or put within the government, incorporated, controlled is really what I mean. And when I think of this, all I think about is communism. Society may change any of its outdated definitions of independence, personal freedom, and there could be frustrations with pursuing our personal goals. Aries is very selfish and it likes to pay attention to the self. Saturn is going to cringe at the thought of Aries thinking of itself because that could be very excessive. And Saturn is far from being excessive. It's very moderate. So there will be a reevaluating of the ego, of your drive, of your motivation, identifying areas where we may assert ourselves to our own detriment, exploring our fear of being seen as less than strong or less than first place. Personal responsibility in action is what you get also with Saturn in Aries. There may be some new leaders, some new trailblazers, redefining authority and leadership styles. Government, institutions, that's all going to change and start something new, something innovative. Saturn represents the government and it's in the sign war. So governments are in war. There could be a global focus on boundaries that could be physical, emotional, or like an ideological way of having borders. Startups and entrepreneurs, if they work really hard, you will see them blowing up more than ever. Success comes to those who sustain their passion over time. Expect challenges to impulsive, short-lived efforts. Any type of rash decision when it comes to your career and long-term goals is not going to work under this placement. Also, we could be needing to set some healthy boundaries. I do think globally there will be boundaries and laws with that as well. There are some karmic lessons coming for our leaders. We may have some challenges in leadership. Karmic justice and lessons could be happening with Saturn in Aries. So we can expect some scandals and some failures for those who cut corners. Endings and renewals. Saturn represents the end, while Aries represents the new. Aries has that fresh start. Saturn's like, we need to end. So we may have an ending of a career or a relationship or maybe even our identity, but this is going to shift to some long-term goals. Delays will serve as opportunities to refine goals and strategies. Saturn in Aries will probably challenge our commitment to our personal goals. We may have some new industries. Innovative companies may emerge. Only responsible and ethical leaders will thrive under this transit. So towards the end of this transit, any of the shady leaders that have ended, it's because they were shady. There is reality versus illusion. Saturn will strip away the illusion about courage, leadership, success, and demand a very grounded humble approach towards these leaderships. Self-mastery and discipline is very important under this transit. Endurance and reliance. Leaders have to be responsible. There could also be a transformation in authority. Now let's talk about the history of Saturn, okay? Now 2015 to 2017, Saturn was in the sign Sagittarius. And that is when we had deeper scrutiny in the media. That's when we had the fake news. That's when the term fake news came about, because Sagittarius wants the truth, and it's about publication. We also have Brexit and Trump talking about the wall, and Sagittarius is about cultures and the world and having a boundary with that. I forgot to mention Saturn in Sagittarius with the history, so I just wanted to mention that. Now let's talk about Saturn in Aries throughout history and what it looked like. And pay attention, because this is also going to explain what we are to look forward to. Saturn entered Aries 1790 to 1793. Second Amendment was created when we had the rights to bear arms. 1908 to 1911, Saturn entered Aries, and that's when the FBI was established. So get ready to hear a lot of things about the FBI. Saturn in Aries in 1937 to 1940. That's when gun licensing was required. FDR signed the Federal Firearms Act of 1938 into law. 1967 to 1969. The ATF was established. The U.S. Congress passed the Gun Control Act of 1968. Because JFK was just killed, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, Robert F. Kennedy was also killed in 1968. So that is when we had the ban of certain types of people being able to get guns. The law established what we now recognize as the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and that is the ATF. I think that was around the time around the Black Panthers too. In 1996 to 1998, that is also a Saturn in Aries. That is when we had the NICS background check system, and it started to launch. Advance in gun control in the UK and Australia. And in 1996, Port Arthur massacre in Tasmania, Australia enacted the National Firearms Agreement, which banned many types of guns and instituted other protections against guns. What history can tell us with Saturn in Aries is that gun control is going to be a big concern, a big theme. Also, the FBI. Let's look and see what involves the FBI with Saturn in Aries. Then also you see issues with the border. Let's talk about the aspects, and the aspects are basically how Saturn is going to be touching and in relationships to other planets in the sky while Saturn's in Aries. June 15th, Saturn going to square Jupiter in Cancer. Tensions between independence and emotional responsibilities. Conflicts between expansive and restriction. Jupiter in Cancer is all about home and comfort and looking into the past. If it's squaring Saturn, limitations with fire. This also is cardinal square. So that means something new is starting and we don't want that newness. Okay. It's going to be a challenge for us. Anyway, but with that said, Aries also is war. So it's like an issue with our home and war. Challenges in balancing optimism with reality, conflicting leadership styles, growth through challenge, restrictive, expansive, domestic life. That makes me think of war. There could be career versus family. Emotional and financial tightness are like a limitation. Saturn restrict Jupiter's expansiveness. And Cancer deals with because it's about our security and it makes us feel safe. So that could be an issue. There could be relationship tensions because one person could be about their goals while the other person is just looking in the past and not releasing things from the past. With society, we could be looking at housing and family policies, generational conflicts. On August 11th, Saturn in Aries is going to sextile Uranus. Now, this is not much of a strong aspect, but if we put the work out there, we will feel it. This is bridging the gap between tradition and innovation. There's going to be bold innovation in communication, strong leadership ideas, progressive collaboration. It's about the revolution, redefining education and early learning, early development of learning, courageous conversations, news, bold news happening around the world. There's entrepreneurship energy, When it comes to social media, because Uranus makes me think of social media, Gemini makes me think of people who are on media and their job is to spread the news or get details. And when you have it sextiling Saturn in Aries, you can really talk about the boldness of the government. Now, the last aspect, which I've discussed in the Neptune video, but I'm also going to discuss it here, is Neptune conjunct Saturn. This is a really big deal. This is like the biggest aspect out of the three that I'm discussing today. One, it's huge because it's going to be at 0 degrees in the sign Aries. That's very potent. The conjunction will be near exact July 2025, but on February 20, 2026 is when it will really be exact. So pay attention to those dates and how it would affect us. But when you have Neptune conjunct Saturn, opportunities for personal or professional growth. First of all, a conjunction is strong, okay? And it is good or bad. It could be both. Opportunities for personal and professional growth, although the rewards may be delayed. There could be a restructuring of our lives and plans through law, through limitations, and through rules. An influctuation of finances, increased personal commitments. There are suddenly obstacles in our way of our goals. There could be energy dips, ups and downs with our faith in our outlook. There could be a lot of questioning yourself, like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? What was the reason of me this in the first place? A sense of being lost in what you think is your future, your long-term commitment. Neptune is dealing with sacrifices, so you could be making a sacrifice for your long-term goals. This transit, just avoid any shortcuts because Saturn does not like a shortcut. It doesn't like the easy route. There needs to be patience and perseverance, and do not overextend yourself. Now, throughout history, with this very important aspect, Neptune conjunct Saturn. In 1809, Abraham Lincoln and Charles Darwin, they were born on the same day. And they both had this aspect in their chart. In 1818, on May 5th, Karl Marx was born with a Uranus and Neptune conjunction, and it was squaring Saturn in Pisces. 1846, Saturn was in a sign Aquarius, and that is when we have the discovery of Neptune. But there was a U.S.-Mexican war, and that set the boundaries of what was America and what was the U.S. In 1882, Saturn was in a sign Taurus, but with this conjunction, we had the Chinese Exclusion Act limiting immigration. 1906, we had a new constitution established in Russia. In 1917, the alcohol prohibition in the U.S. happened in 1920, and in 1922, the Soviet Union was created. In 1952, polio vaccines was invented. October 7th, Vladimir Putin was born, and this is with Saturn and Neptune conjunction, or a relationship of Saturn and Neptune. I just want you to understand how Saturn and Neptune, the people who will be affected, the rulers who've had this conjunction, what they look like, how they played a role in society, and how this could affect us in the future. In 1989, we had the end of the Soviet Union, the fall of the Berlin Wall, which was a border. We had prohibition of smoking in public spaces. Smoking was an addiction, and that's what Neptune does represent. 1999, Putin becomes Russia's president, and that is what a Saturn-Neptune square. It's very important for me, for us to look up Russia and Ukraine with this conjunction too, and see how that's going to affect them, because this is a big part. Russia, Putin, they all are affected by this conjunction. So this is going to be a big part on how that's going to be affected. Whereas America, I live in America, so I really want to discuss this. I see in America is at 1 degrees of Aries. So if Neptune is going to be in a sign of Aries and Saturn is going to be in a sign of Aries, this is going to really affect our homeland. On Independence Day, July 4th of 2025, we're going to have the Saturn and Neptune coming together. I do also want to say that the Sun and Jupiter will be also in a sign Cancer, and it will be a solar return and a Jupiter return also happening. Chiron is going to enter Aries, and America has a Chiron in Aries as well. Now, last time Neptune was in the sign Aries, it marked the beginning of the Civil War in America, which was April 12th, 1861. And Aries represents being separate and polarization. The Civil War also happen with Uranus in a sign Gemini, which is happening for 2025 as well. And we will have a Uranus return in Gemini on America's chart in 2027 and 2028, when both Neptune and Saturn will be in a sign Aries. Uranus represents emancipation. It represents human rights. So let's see who's going to be fighting for their rights in America. January 1st, 1863, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamations declaring the slaves free, and Saturn was in the sign Libra and Neptune in Aries, and they were in opposition. Neptune and Saturn, very, very historical, big themes, and how they affect America and how they affect certain leaders. Get ready for that. So I do want you to understand that we could be looking at some gun control. We could be looking at issues and wars around our borders. I've already discussed predictions, how it can affect you personally and globally. I see Putin I always say this, you don't have to be an astrologer or a psychic to see that Putin is really affected with this. And also America definitely will be affected. I don't want to be negative, but we are talking about Saturn. So we have to be we have to be realistic. And with this placement and with this ingress happening in Saturn entering Aries, there is going to be time of war. Now, what is the advice do we have for Saturn entering Aries? This is a time of taking responsibility of your action. Embrace courage and discipline. Commit to long-term decisions. It's about opportunities of growth when you have Saturn involved anytime. It's time to be inspired by any outdated systems. Be innovative and responsible. Overcome your fear. And it's about self-leadership. Balance being impulsive and be very strategic. Channel energies into constructive projects. Cultivate patience. Embrace leadership with responsibility, not impulsivity. This is a time to reflect, accept, be patient, focus, ground yourself, and have grounded practices. Embrace any challenge because that is a lesson. And Saturn's lessons are really not here to punish us. The lessons are designed to help us grow. Prioritize anything dealing with discipline, especially of the self. Let go of things that no longer serve you. Seek guidance and mentorship. Take care of your health. If you feel drained, it is time to take care of yourself physically and your well-being. This is a time of personal development. Unique opportunity for personal growth. And lastly, I want to say that Saturn rewards mastery. It rewards things that takes time. It rewards repetition. Those who focus on skill building, disciplined leadership, and sustainable action will see long-term success under Saturn in Aries. Now that we discussed that, let's get into the horoscopes. Now, before I discuss the horoscopes, I want you to understand that Saturn is going to enter a part of your chart that can indicate something that's going to be tested within these 2 to 3 years. This house that Saturn is going to enter could be representing greater tensions in your life. You have to focus on these energy. You can't just let it go, because it's a reality check. Saturn transits are never external. It's more about internal energy, and it's also about lessons. It is about the reality of that house that Saturn is going to enter. This could be a depression. This could be sadness. This could be physical or emotional loss. But whatever it is, you cannot avoid it. So I'm going to start with the sign Aries. Aries, Saturn is entering your first house, of course, because it is Saturn in Aries. This is all about personal growth, discipline, and self-leadership. Embrace your role as a leader. Focus on self-discipline. Avoid any type of impulsivity. Please take calculated risks that align with your long-term goals. This is all about redefining and taking responsibility with your identity. You have to be self-assured. I will see you next time. Bye. Taurus, this Saturn in Aries is going to enter your 12th house. This is about emotional healing, healing of the self, spiritual, and releasing things of the past. It's time to confront any subconscious fears, any type of baggage that you had from the past. Unresolved issues, it's time to cleanse that closet. Focus on rest, reflect, use spiritual practices. It's a time to build a stronger emotional backbone. This is going to bring reality of anything that is ending, any type of death that is happening with you. There's a reality and a lesson for you. This is going to make you stronger at the end. Okay, I will see you next time. Bye. Okay, Geminis, Saturn is going to enter your 11th house. This is all about communicating. This is all about community, networking, friendships, your future, your hopes and dreams. This also could be dealing with space and science. Now it's all about responsible with your friendships, with your networks, with the group. Redefine any long-term goals or something dealing with your hopes and dreams. There's going to be a life lesson with your groups and your allies. Maybe you'll have more of a meaningful collaboration. Maybe you'll build a network that's more supportive and very ambitious. But the life lesson is with that. I will see you next time. Bye. Cancer. Saturn is entering your 10th house of career, you being a role model and you being on stage. Long-term ambitions is what we have here. Saturn's presence in the career sector calls for hard work and discipline. You'll face opportunities that build lasting success, but only through perseverance and focus. Take responsibility seriously and strive for excellence. Define your career goals clearly in a very methodical way. This is all about long-term goals. This is also about taking your time and moving slow. There will be life lessons when it comes to your career and your public image. So pay attention. Do not avoid it. I will see you next time. Bye. Okay, Leo, Saturn is entering your 9th house is about higher learning, universities. This is also about traveling and expanding your world. And maybe even philosophy, which could be your personal beliefs. Saturn pushes you to solidify your philosophies and long-term vision. Now, if you're pursuing any education, there's lessons here. It's redefining your belief system. It's taking discipline on learning projects. Focus on expanding horizons through structured efforts. If you have to travel or study, this is going to be a reality check for you. We'll see you guys next time. Bye. Virgo, Saturn is entering your 8th house. This is very deep and very serious, okay? There could be some lessons, you getting some psychology or some healing, some psychological healing, the life lesson, things that are very taboo that you're keeping a mystery or secrets. There could be challenges or limits when it comes to shared resources or spouses or, inheritances or taxes or debts you owe, okay? You can be very emotional, vulnerable, but then there's this coldness aspect of it. You have to set some clear boundaries, and you probably have to set some clear boundaries when it comes to your finances, so be aware of that. Whatever it is going to be a lesson, and you can't brush it under the rug, okay? I will see you guys next time. Bye. Hey, Libra, Saturn is entering your 7th house, which is, Libra, there is relationship lessons here, okay? Maybe there is a lesson on you balancing your harmony. There could also be some restrictions on your aesthetics and art. And Saturn challenged you to take relationships more seriously. This could be dealing with love or a business partner, or maybe even a close friendship. You probably have to set some boundaries there. There's some lessons here with aesthetics as well, or with art and creativity. This is also the house of law. So there could be something dealing with law, justice, and fairness, and you have to take your time with that. All right? I will see you guys next time. Bye. Scorpio, Saturn is entering your 6th house of health. Daily routines, work ethics, maybe even small pets. Now, there's restrictions here. Could be a restriction at work or with a coworker, or maybe you need to set some boundaries with a coworker. There's also could be some lessons on how you organize your day-to-day life or how you organize your thought process, the way you process information within your head. This is a very serious energy about your health and having priority. Really setting priority towards your health and thinking long-term and not short-term. So today you eat McDonald's and you're like, well, what does it matter? Like if you get a surgery, you're like, well, I'll deal with this issue in 10 years. I don't need to get this surgery. No, this is about long-term effects. So really pay attention to your health in the long-term arena, all right? I will see you guys next time. Bye. Sagittarius, Saturn is entering your 5th house. This is all about the self and taking yourself seriously. It seems very bizarre because this is a house of fun and Saturn is not really a fun planet. And now it's like being very serious about you having fun. Some people need that. Some people need to set boundaries in their funness. Some people need to set boundaries when it comes to their romance and limitations with creativity. There's life lessons with this. This also could be a life lesson with your children, or maybe there's a heavy burden with you and your children. Be aware of that. Now, doesn't mean that your children are going to suffer. I mean, they can, but there to be a life lesson, and Saturn is here to make it better. Remember that. Whatever struggle you're going through, just know that Saturn is here to make it better. Now, what I do know for a fact is that you can't avoid it. So if you do have issues with your children, or you having issues with being creative, a creative block of some sort, or you're having issues with a romance of some sort, you want to pay attention to it. You don't want to brush it under the rug. This is a reality check happening for you within those realms, okay? I hope that makes sense. I will see you guys next time. Bye. Okay, Capricorn, Saturn is entering your fourth house. This is about your ancestry, your past, where you feel comfortable. This could be dealing with your mom and your home and your family, okay? There's restrictions here. There's lessons here. There's a reality check here, okay? Now, maybe you have some stability within your home and your family, and maybe you need to address some family dynamics. Maybe you feel like you need to establish a healthy foundation with your safety. Maybe there's something from your past that you've been avoiding, and now there's a reality check in regards to that. You need to address it, okay? This is a very serious placement. It doesn't want to be avoided. It doesn't want to be having fun. It wants to be addressed, okay? I would do that. Now, focus on creating a supportive environment. Strengthen your emotional ties with your family or your mom or something from your past, okay? Patient, and it's going to take time. This is not something that can be rushed in one day, okay? I will see you guys next time. Bye. Okay, Aquarius, Saturn is entering your third house. When Saturn enters your third house, this is about communication. This is about your community. This could be about your neighbors, early education, and your siblings. Whatever it is in those things that I just named, there needs to be a reality check with it. There needs to be a seriousness with addressing it, okay? Saturn encourages you to the way you communicate. If you have a stuttering problem, now there's a life lesson with that. You need to take some lessons on it, or maybe take responsibility on how you communicate. Are you gossiping too much? Okay. Maybe there's something that you to go back and learn and get the early stages of learning. That could be happening, and Saturn wants you to go back so you can think long-term on how these beginning education is going to help you in the long term. Be mindful of your words, commit to improving your knowledge, build a strong foundation within your community, maybe set some boundaries with some siblings. Whatever it is, it's serious, okay? I will see you guys next time. Bye. Pisces, Saturn is going to enter Aries in your second house. This is about your finances, your self-worth, and your material stability. What do you personally value? That is what a lesson is going to happen for you with this placement. Saturn pushes you to take control of your finances. Do not brush it under the rug. Pay attention. Build some financial security. Address your sense of self-worth. Okay? This is a time focused on budgeting. This is a very no excess here. The luxuries of yesterday are gone, okay? This is a time of on how can you save money and how can it be for long-term security, okay? So build some confidence in what makes you feel abundant, your personal values, because there's some life lessons here that's going to happen, all right? I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and remember to check out my playlist. If you want a private reading, don't forget that I have those, and I am available for you. Just check the link in the bio, okay? I will see you guys next time. Bye.